Boys, settle down, grab yourself a cup of tea. Genuinely, you have my permission right now. Go grab yourself a cup of tea or a coffee or whatever beverage that you decide to sip upon, as I'm about to tell you a tale. This is my sink or swim moment. The moment I got thrown into the deep end of being an adult male and I had to either sink or swim, baby. Here we go. So, guys, a very quick rehash. Some very basic back knowledge about me in case you don't know or you just need a quick reminder, okay? So, I make money by editing other people's videos, okay? So, I'm a freelance editor. I will work with another YouTuber and I will take their video and I'll edit it for them in a way which actually, reaches their audience. And then I will get paid for that, okay? And I started off very humbly. On the left, you can see I'm in my parents' bedroom there. Well, my parents' house in my bedroom. And that's where I started my editing journey. I actually just had a gaming PC that I would use to play games. And one day I decided, you know what? I'm going to stop using this PC to decay in real time and be a worse person. I'm actually going to try and make some money with this PC. And the good thing about having a gaming PC is that I had to have pretty good specs to be able to play my games. So it was more than capable of editing, and that's exactly where I started. Sat down in the exact same chair where I used to play League of Legends for 12 hours a day. I would just edit videos instead and earn money. How incredible is that? Over a 2-year period, I managed to scale my video editing business all the way to over $10,000 a month, all while traveling the world and networking with some absolutely incredible people. Some of your favorite YouTubers. This is a very impressive journey that I went on. I went from zero to hero. It's no secret that my main client was Hamza, and we scaled his YouTube channel from 500 subscribers to over 2 million subscribers. We also became brothers. We became absolute best friends and we traveled the world together. But let's take a little bit of a step back now, okay? So my first trip away from home was Thailand. And this is while I'm still doing my video editing. The great thing about video editing is that I can travel. Like my laptop here, I can just pick it up and go wherever I want. So that's what I did. I bought a laptop with the money I made through editing. And then I went off to Thailand, and I actually went with my client Hamza as well, because again, we're best friends at this point. And just to be clear, at this point, I'm only making about $2,500 a month through my video editing. So I'm nowhere near my peak in terms of earnings when it comes to editing. But here I am in Thailand, and I'm making my money online, and I am living a genuinely incredible existence. We're staying in really fancy villas. We're eating at the Western restaurants. So the good thing about Thailand is it's generally cheap. So staying in a villa, it wouldn't be as expensive as staying in a villa in, for example, I don't know, Spain or something, but it was still about £2,500 a month to stay there between myself and Hamza. And then we would also eat at Western restaurants. We weren't really eating the Thai food. The Thai food can be very cheap, £1.50 for a chicken and rice. But we were generally eating at these westernized restaurants. And so we were paying out the ass. We were also staying on the most expensive island in Thailand. So basically what I'm saying is I was living like an absolute king on my $2,500 a month online through video editing, which really isn't hard to achieve, actually. And even still, I could have cut back on so many expenses and still lived an amazing existence on a tropical island in Thailand on a motorbike, chilling, okay? Awesome life. But I was a bit reckless with my spending. I did spend more than I needed to, but I was just a young kid, and this was the first bit of money that I ever earned, so it was exciting for me. So another pretty reckless thing I did was the fact that I didn't have an emergency fund. If you go traveling away, you generally want a lump sum of money to fall back on in case something goes wrong. If I have a motorcycle crash, Lord forbid, but if just something goes wrong, you want some money to fall back on. I didn't really have that. So it was kind of very reckless on my part. But while I was doing this as well, I was still actually sending money back to my mother in the UK to just help her out with her expenses as well. So I am so insanely grateful that I took this risk anyway, without the emergency fund. I just decided to, get on a plane and go. It was one of the best periods of my life in terms of personal growth and also just getting incredible memories together, honestly. I was in a phone call with Hamza just a few days ago and we were reliving some of our shenanigans on our first trip to Thailand, and it was genuinely just so unbelievably funny and sadly just not safe for YouTube, so I can't really talk about it, but I was on the floor cry laughing at some of the stuff that we did and went through on this first trip to Thailand. So just such an incredible time. And again, it just wasn't that hard for me to get to that point to start making enough money to go to Thailand, like $2,500 a month. To live like a king. Crazy. Anyway, so we left Thailand, and honestly, I would have really happily stayed in Thailand, but Hamza found it to be a bit too much of a distraction. And at this point, obviously, Hamza is like way more driven, way more purposeful than me. I'm still a little bit flowing down the river of life type of shit, you know. I wasn't quite my own man just yet. So I would have happily stayed in Thailand, but Hamza was like, okay, it's time to go back to the UK. Cool. I wasn't confident enough to stay in Thailand alone, so I went back with him. The UK, you know, doing my thing. I'm editing in the same room which I was editing in before, and as I've continued to sort of grow, I've realized that I'm starting to like outgrow my environments. There's too much like negativity, too much toxicity, too much sort of trauma attached to this room which I was editing in the UK, in my mom's house. I was not at peace there. And if I wanted to begin scaling beyond 2,500, this was not the place to do it. I really could not get much productive work done, and I couldn't think big when I was in this environment. So I was very unhappy in my home in the UK, and at the same time as me realizing this, me and Hamza were actually discussing like moving to Dubai to become, you know, the high value men. And we have all this influence now. We have like, you know, 1.5 million subscribers at this point. We started working together at 500 subs. Hamza paid me like £10 per video when we started, man. And we were both on universal credit as well. Like, Hamza was paying me out of his universal credit. So if you don't know, that's a benefit in the UK for like brokies, okay? Like just people who don't have a job or anything. We went from absolutely nothing to massive levels of infamy in the space of like 1.5 years of working together. There's this psyop where if you're like a somebody, then you need to be in Dubai because it's so sick for networking, man. Whoa, you gotta be a high value man, and you gotta get your Rolexes and your fucking Lamborghinis and all this shit, right? Like you've seen it. You guys have seen it. These guys on their Instagram with their fucking Rolexes and stuff. We didn't know what we were doing. We were essentially just two young lads who stumbled into massive levels of fame by making some silly animations and talking about self-improvement. So, Dubai. Oh my God, Dubai. Jesus fucking Christ. We were not ready for the shark-infested waters of Dubai. For me to stay in Dubai, I had to spend £3,500 alone on just my apartment. And my apartment was nothing special. It was literally just a fucking room, a small room at the top of a high-rise building in the Dubai Marina area. It's a very nice area. I was paying for the area, really. It's like one of the more bougie areas, but £3,500 for essentially a bed. And I went into the apartment and they didn't even have like forks and cutlery there. How insane is that? 3.5k a month and I didn't have any fucking forks or cutlery. Crazy. Ugh. And then just living in Dubai as well. It's so expensive. Everything is so expensive. We're networking there. We're meeting with really high-level guys. We're having really expensive dinners. I did the maths, and I swear to God, guys, I genuinely spent, on average, over £100 a day on food. £100 a day. Do some quick math. I was there for 60 days, guys, okay? Just on food. And then I was going to a really fancy gym. It was the UFC gym. And I was paying for one-to-one sessions with like an actual like MMA coach. Very expensive again. I had well and truly succumb to lifestyle inflation. I felt like I had some sort of appearance to keep up. I had told my parents, my family, guys, I'm off on an adventure across the world. I'm going to Dubai. I'm going to make it. I'm going to become a fucking very wealthy man. And I won't return until I have completed my quest. I wanted to keep up those appearances, even though the reality was, like, we were there and we were both unhappy. You know, we didn't even feel aligned in that place around all of that hedonism, and the only culture it really had was like just having money and spending money. The pressure just got to us a little bit, and it started to form cracks in our relationship and in our business as well. Because our friendship was so closely tied to business as well, this was a massive issue. It also didn't help that at this point I had actually dropped all of my other clients in terms of video editing because Hamza wanted me to go completely all in on him and his channel. So I was completely reliant on Hamza at this point. And Hamza's health started to decay. And I didn't realize at the time how bad it was, but like it was pretty bad. And not only was his health decaying, his relationship with his girl was decaying. We talked about this so fucking much. Every single day Hamza came to me and was like, bro, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I love this girl so much, but, you know, and we were talking about that so much. And because of this, he wasn't able to really show up like he had for me for the last 1.5 to 2 years. Like, Hamza was just a superhero to me at this point, and I started to see like cracks of that and crumbling, and I didn't really understand why, because that was this toxic sort of aura around our relationship where Hamza's just invincible and he's never gonna struggle with anything and he'll just show up and do what needs to be done anyway. Because at this point as well, like Tate was really popping off and I was very like heavily subscribed to that as well. I wasn't even capable of thinking about what Hamza was going through at that point because I hadn't even really lived something like that before myself. I had been growing alongside Hamza, but I was not yet my own man. I didn't really understand the intricacies of these situations. And at the same time, for me, I've got my own pressure as well. Again, I've told my family I'm going to Dubai, I'm going to make this work, I'm going to become really wealthy, I'm going to set us all up, guys. And then we've got a bunch of disingenuous people like fucking coming at us from all sides, trying to like clout chase, and we're fucking Aikidoing them away at the same time. There was a lot going on, man. There really was. There's a lot that I can't even talk about as well, you know. But our relationship started to crumble. And we realized we shouldn't be in Dubai right now. We actually shouldn't. We're not even happy here, 1. And 2, like, honestly, we can't fucking afford it. Hamza had to borrow money from his sister to pay for his rent. He had stopped recording videos for the YouTube. We weren't paying the editor team. This shit wasn't working. So we ended up leaving Dubai. We came to Dubai with the idea that we would fucking, you know, make it and like buy our Rolexes and be happy and stuff. But the reality was we went there and we didn't like what we saw. We realized that there's just so much more to it than just, you know, hedonism and spending money. By the time I left Dubai, I was over $10,000 in debt. $10,000, that's right. And I went there with an emergency fund as well. And I burned through that as well. Dubai was way too expensive for me. And I was a young, inexperienced idiot. I didn't have a clue what I was doing with my money. And I didn't have a clue about risk management either. I was $10,000 in debt when I left Dubai. We decided to go back to Thailand because Thailand was only 6 hours away from Dubai. And Hamza, with his crumbling health and lack of, you know, alignment to his mission, was convincing himself that he was going to pivot and try and be an MMA fighter now because he's like, you know, he's completed his YouTube arc and he wants to just fight because all men must fight, guys. Yeah, you have to fight if you're a man and all this garbage. Again, we were just so psyoped by what other people thought of us. Like, oh, we have to go to Dubai and flex because we need to keep up this weird appearance. We have to fight because we have to keep up. No, frankly, that's never been our strength. It never has been our strength. And we really fucking shot ourselves in the foot by trying to be people that we just fucking weren't, you know. Any time that we've spent away from just being aligned with who we actually are to our core has been very unproductive. In a way, it's been productive because we've learned from it, but it's just silly. We were never those guys. Our physicality, I mean, Hamza's a big guy, but like he's not going to be a UFC fighter, of course not. People have been training their entire fucking lives to be a UFC fighter. Like, why the fuck would we pivot from what we do so well, which is YouTube, to become MMA fighters? Anyway, because our communication at this point had totally broken down, we were both insanely unhappy in Dubai. Hamza's relationships were falling apart with both his girlfriend and me. We ended up going back to Thailand because I pointed out that Thailand would be a great spot to learn how to fight because a lot of UFC fighters actually train there in the Muay Thai gyms. We ended up going back to our original spot. But sadly, the damage to our relationship seemed to have already been done. There was a lot of friction between myself and Hamza over business and personal decisions, which I'm not going to talk about in this video, out of respect. And something that really bothered me, is the constant pivoting and changing of directions, because I want you guys to put yourself in my shoes for a minute. I have went completely and utterly all in on Hamza's mission, his purpose, his personal brand for the last like 2 years. I've dropped all of my other video editing clients. I'm not even making videos for my own personal brand at this point because they are a distraction to the main mission. All while this is happening, Hamza is constantly changing his mind on things. No, I don't want to do YouTube. I want to be an MMA fighter. Well, where does that leave me? No, I don't want to be in Dubai. I want to go back to the UK. Actually, no, I don't like the UK. Let's go back to Dubai. Actually, let's go to Thailand, so on and so forth, right? And it's no secret that a lot of people, they've sort of picked up that Hamza does pivot quite often. And I think that's something that he's working on now. But you can imagine me being all in, you know, right alongside Hamza. That's like very scary and jarring for me, because I was all in on Hamza, and what Hamza decided kind of meant that it was my fate as well. And that led to me feeling a real sense of lack of autonomy. I didn't feel like I could make decisions for myself. I'd also felt like I was letting down the rest of the editing team. I, at this point, was actually leading the rest of the editors as well. And while Hamza was trying to figure all this stuff out with his health and what we were doing, our purpose, quite frankly, like a lot of the editors who were full-time editing for us, like they weren't getting work, they weren't getting paid. And this really bothered me, because I didn't know what was going on. I kind of failed in my communication. But my growing concerns for the editors, and I was just a bit selfish as well, and I was failing to communicate, and I had absolutely no sense of autonomy. I was very uncertain. I was scared. Like, I'd went all in on this for 2.5 years, and I just didn't know where I stood, my fate. I didn't know if it was going to continue this way, or if I was going to be cut loose, and that's scary. Especially since Hamza has been like almost a father figure to me, an older brother. He's sort of like carried me on his shoulders out of the trenches, and it was terrifying for me to think that I would lose that. I completely lacked the ability to see anything from Hamza's perspective, because I had not really become my own man at that point. Again, I was getting kind of like carried with Hamza. I didn't make decisions for myself. I didn't actually throw myself into the deep end at this point. And I think you do need that. You need your own things going on to be able to see things from different perspectives, and he couldn't really see things from my perspective. I don't think he really understood like how unhappy it made me to feel like I didn't have that autonomy in my life. I didn't feel like I could make decisions for myself. And this lack of self-autonomy kind of just manifested itself in me jumping ahead and wanting to become my own main character and to like build my own personal brand and stuff like that. And to be honest, like I wasn't really ready. There was so many other things that I needed to learn first before making that leap. But because I felt very insecure in my position with Hamza, I felt like a very massive pull towards trying to pivot and do something on my own accord, which is running successfully on the side alongside my work Hamza. So if things do go wrong with Hamza, then I have that to fall back on. I was failing to like motivate Hamza to get on camera and just, hit the oil rig and like fucking do the hard work, guys. That's the motto. That's the motto, like do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. And that really like kind of shot us in the foot there, because sometimes the most productive thing you can do is to literally just fucking step away and find some clarity. That's what I had to do pretty recently. I started to feel quite depressed and misaligned. I literally just went away, shut off, and just fucked off to an island for a few days. I've come back with this new sense of energy, and that's honestly the most productive thing that you can do, but we just didn't do that. And whenever I did sort of motivate Hamza to get on camera, record some videos, he would just sort of rubber band back to the original state of being in burnout and his health decaying, because we hadn't really dealt with the issue, the core issue. We were looking at the symptoms and we were like, yeah, just push through, bro, but we didn't deal with the issue. And I was still a boy. I couldn't even begin to fathom what Hamza was going through, because again, I saw Hamza as this like fucking superhero. Like he couldn't possibly fail, he couldn't possibly like fall, or he couldn't be upset or sad or depressed, or he's a superhero. And it's not true. Hamza's just a fucking human, just like me, and he was struggling and he needed understanding and he needed to take a step back. Just 6 months prior to that, I was too anxious to get a haircut alone. But I do wish it went differently. This honestly fucking broke my heart. Like it really did. The breakup that we sort of went through. I remember just saying bye to Hamza one final time. I was going to stay in Thailand and Hamza was going to go away back to the UK. And I remember giving him one final hug and just driving away. And I kind of knew at that point that I wasn't going to see him again at least not for a long time. And I found myself becoming very resentful, very angry, very bitter. Kind of like in the same sense of like a child whose dad abandons them, like to go get some cigarettes or something. Like I felt like that dead ass. Like it might seem like kind of crazy, like Sam, it's not that deep, but like it really was that deep for me. Like it was like my fucking dad had just abandoned me. I felt very like betrayed. I felt very alone, and I was $8,000 in debt, and I wasn't working with Hamza anymore. He did cut me loose. And at the same time as that happening, Hamza started to like hyper monetize his brand. He started to monetize a lot more effectively and started to just literally make a fuck ton of money. And that made me feel quite bitter too, because I had spent the last 3 years of my life building that alongside Hamza, doing my part, and I felt like I didn't get a fair slice of the rewards because we weren't actually focused on monetizing at all while I was working with him. And then at the same time, I've got this $8,000 debt, which I have to pay $1,500 of it back every single month. So I have to pay like $400 back a week. And it was a fuck ton of pressure. But most importantly, I had lost like a lifelong brother. Like, bro, this shit brings fucking tears to my eyes. I remember Hamza said something to me like, bro, I thought we were like gonna grow old together. I thought we were gonna like sit in our wheelchairs with grey hair together, like laughing about the times that we had. And oh man, it was very fucking painful to lose such a very special friendship like that, because it was very special. Like, there was absolutely no mask with either one of us. We weren't wearing a mask at all. Like, we were completely and utterly ourselves when we were together. And the best friendships, I've said this before and I'll say it again, the absolute best friendships are forged in sacrifice. When I met Hamza, he was on fucking universal credit. So was I. I was depressed as fuck. I was horribly anxious. Hamza was fucking pissed off because he wasn't making any money and he had tried so many different things. He was in like an autistic monk mode, and we built that together. We got out of that situation together. We would talk every single day. Every single day. And it's not like your other friendships where like you talk every single day in Discord and you're playing Rocket League together. Like, no, like Hamza is a busy as fuck dude. But we had such a special friendship that we found a time to talk to each other. Well, he did. I mean, I wasn't busy at this point, you know. I was still very much so in the trenches, but that's such a beautiful thing that he helped lift me out of that as well. And I helped him in every way that I could as well. Like, every single relationship issue Hamza's had, like, I can guarantee you that we've talked about it in depth numerous times. A lot of people like to think that Hamza was just like coaching me and stuff like that, and like very selflessly. Like, no, it's actually like a genuine friendship. We helped each other in every way we could, and we were also excellent business partners as well, and we built such an incredible thing, and we fucking lost that. We lost that. I lost an older brother just like that. So what do I do? What do I do now? Like, I'm in Thailand, I'm alone. My dad's left me, he's went to go get cigarettes and he didn't come back. And I've got all of these voices in my head, all of these voices, and they might manifest themselves in toxic Instagram comments or YouTube comments, but like, you know, what are you going to do now, Sam? Your daddy's left you. You know, your carry has left you. You're going to go back to the UK, run back home to mommy, get back on your antidepressants and play your League of Legends. I thought you were going to be a high-value man, Sam. You said you were going to go to Dubai and become really wealthy and sort out your family for financial freedom for the rest of your life. Were you literally just Hamza's little bitch boy, and as soon as Hamza's gone, you devolve into nothingness? You're just a piece of shit. These are the voices that I heard, and I locked myself in my room for 2 weeks straight. And I relentlessly built. And I had no idea what I was doing. But I was completely fueled by anger, resentment, and hatred. And also just the need to prove something. You know, I had something to prove, you know, and that's a very powerful energy that you can harness. I had 3 options as to what I was going to do. 1, I could just begin video editing again, and I could, you know, find some new clients, work with them. But I had just been very much so sort of hurt by my other business relationship, and I had that sense of a lack of autonomy, and I was kind of at this point very sick of relying on other people. So I was like, I don't really want to do that. That'll be a last resort. So then I have 2 other options. 1, build a video editing agency, which is a business model where basically I am the middleman between people finding editors and working with them, and I would get a cut of any editing profits that the guys who work beneath me get. Kind of like a pyramid scheme, but not really. I would just make finding clients easier if you are a video editor. And I didn't do that because I absolutely hate that business model. And I made a video on why I hate that business model. If you're interested, it's on the channel. Just type in beware agencies. But then I also had the other option of building a video editing course. And it's funny because I had the intention to do this for literally over a year at this point. I had actually outlined the course inside of a Notion document. The problem was I just never really took action on it because I'd never been fucking thrown into the deep end to have to actually do that. So here I was, I went from, very fucking good income to $0. I'm in my room in Thailand, totally alone, and I can either book my ticket home to the UK and go back home to mommy, or I can become a man. And I was up against it because I had went all in on Hamza. I had neglected getting any other video editing clients and also neglected building my own personal brand. And I was driving myself insane in this apartment. I genuinely did not leave for 2 weeks. I did not leave that apartment for 2 weeks. I would sit there, I would record these modules for my course. I would try and figure out how the fuck this shit works because it's not as simple as you'd think. I wouldn't sleep. I had chronic anxiety. I was angry. I was resentful. I had something to prove. When I wasn't sat down at my desk trying to smash out those modules, I was pacing my room. It was very, very dark time for me. But I put out my pre-sale on my Instagram, my YouTube, and I sold 20 memberships to my academy within the first week. And this was an absolute enormous relief for me because I was selling it for $247 and times by 20, that's nearly $5,000. It was a massive, massive relief, and it made me realize, okay, this is actually possible. I do have innate value to give to people when it comes to video editing, and my work had actually paid off because I went beyond being a video editor for Hamza. I actually established myself as a character on the channel. I didn't just copy and paste presets like most editors do. I actually injected some of my personality into the videos, and that massively paid off because that made people become endeared towards me. They actually liked me. They wanted to see me win as well. They wanted to see my journey. They were invested in me alongside Hamza to a smaller extent, of course. But the pressure was still on. I still had to repay 1.5k of this debt per month while sustaining my life in Thailand and also paying my mom money back home. And to be fair, she did say, Sam, I get it. I know what you're going on. Just worry about yourself. I think I said to her, no, I'll continue to pay it anyway. I might be wrong. I might have said to her, oh, thank you, Mum, I'll take that. And I'll start paying you money again when I'm a bit more stable. But I think I actually still continue to give her money during that time. So, what a relief. And the sales continue to come in fairly steadily, nothing crazy. I'm not a fucking millionaire or anything, but I'm doing okay. I'm okay. I'm able to sustain my lifestyle and slowly pay off this debt. But I was just so angry still. I was so resentful and angry. I felt betrayed, lonely. I was driving around this beautiful tropical island off the Gulf of Thailand filled with rage. And my resentment actually manifested itself in this. This is not how I speak. It's not. This is what I like to call now, this is what I've dubbed copy-paste entrepreneurship. You see what someone else is doing online and you just copy it with no second thought as to how it would actually fit your own persona. I believed that for me to be successful with what I did, I have to be very abrasive and polarizing. I had to speak a certain way. I had to speak with so much certainty, and this is not it. And this is actually just a symptom of my deep resentment and my low vibrational navigation of my day to day. This is what most entrepreneurs do. They just see what someone else is doing and they mindlessly copy and paste it. Copy paste entrepreneurship. It's very uncreative, it's unoriginal, and it's also just cringe as fuck. Very inauthentic. And that's the worst part, honestly. If you want to be polarizing, all you have to do to be polarizing is actually be authentic, because there are very few people who are genuinely authentic when they turn their camera on. And if you're authentic, that is in itself polarizing. It's like, holy fuck. This guy is just straight up admitting to me that, yeah, I used to be depressed. I used to fucking... Oh, Jesus, man. I used to fucking come inside of socks, bro. Okay? Like, yeah, that's me, okay? That is polarizing. You don't have to be a dickhead. You don't have to be Tate Jr. Oh, man. But this is just one of the many mistakes I made during this time, because, again, I wasn't really ready to leapfrog and build my own personal brand at that point. But I felt a push towards doing it because of my lack of self-autonomy and also just my relationship with Hamza crumbling. And my relationship with Hamza crumbling is very multifaceted, and I don't want you to watch this video and think for a second that you fully understand what happened between me and Hamza for it to fall apart. It's very complicated. There's a lot of stuff that you guys will never know about. But yeah, nevertheless, I brute forced my way out of the debt trenches and I paid off my debt. And again, there was a lot of pressure. Like, I had to pay it back $1,500 a month. I had to. Everything felt like a massive uphill battle for me. I felt shockingly misaligned as to who I am in my core. It was like a massive shock to my system when I built my own thing and I just suddenly lost like a brother, you know, someone who I thought I was literally going to grow old with. It was just a massive shock. And I wasn't able to make calculated decisions on my own accord. And I was still just so resentful. This was honestly one of the most necessary but terrible periods of my life. I didn't enjoy my work. I didn't enjoy making videos. I made them because I had to for the sake of business. And it makes me cringe so much because I was so deeply unhappy during that period of my life, but I still see to this day guys who just fucking make videos for the sake of business and just making sales. I don't get how you could literally just fucking go on ChatGPT and type in like, oh, give me some fucking video topics, and then just start spouting garbage with no nuance on camera. It's just like mind-numbing to me. But this is where I was at this point, and it made me so deeply unhappy. I was unbelievably misaligned with any sense of purpose. I felt super lonely, insecure. But this brings me on to my redemption arc. And just to be clear, like, I'm putting this in one slide, but this took months upon months. You know what? It probably took like 15 months. So a year. Like, over a year this took, okay? I started to limit my time exposing myself to new and disingenuous and bad inputs which don't align with me, who I am in my core. And I also forgave Hamza as well. And I'm really glad I did this on my own accord. I didn't like outright go to Hamza and like talk about it or anything. I literally just had an internal cleansing of my relationships. I actually wrote a letter to Hamza. I went to a spot which is very special to both myself and Hamza on this small island in Thailand. And I was writing this letter looking out into the sunset. And then What a Wonderful World came on the music, and I shed a tear, bro. I shed a fucking tear while writing this letter. In the letter I wrote about the things which I felt hurt by, wronged by, and then I wrote how I understand because of X and Y, and I wrote it as if I was going to send it to him, and then I just didn't send it to him. I read it, I felt it, and then I burnt it. And that gave me so much peace. And then I also returned to Monkey. You know, I stopped making videos for the sake of trying to make as much money as possible. Like, the problem is with most content creators is they first think, okay, I need to make money, and then they go to the second thing of like, okay, that means I need to make a video. So when they're making their video, they're first thinking, how do I make this video to make me the most amount of money as humanly possible, rather than how do I make the most banger video I humanly can. I stopped that. I realized this shit's not making me happy. Money's not even making me happy. Why am I just sort of trying to weirdly create videos to tinge at people's pain points enough so that they buy my course, my product? It's gay. I don't like it. I feel disingenuous. It doesn't feel like good to me. I don't enjoy this. I enjoy making awesome stuff which makes a positive impact on the world. And quite frankly, if you just do that, the money comes anyway. Like, most of the guys in my academy, which is over 500 of them, I have made a massive positive impact on in terms of giving them banging advice in videos like this. They like me because I just show up for them and I'm authentic and I'm totally honest. And I don't have this ulterior motive as to why I do this. I do this because I fucking love to show up for you guys. I could spend the rest of my life convincing you how awesome I am and how you should buy my shit, or I could just be awesome. And that's what I realized. Why don't I just be awesome? In this time, I also cultivated new friendships with brothers, and I learned a lot of very important life lessons as well. I became my own man. I can stand on my own legs and I can provide for myself. I'm self-reliant, I'm dependable, and that's a very, very important part of being a man. And I'm really grateful for that, because it's with this new perspective that I am able to understand better what happened between myself and Hamza during that time. I was completely incapable of understanding back then because I really wasn't my own man. I was a boy who brute forced his way out of the trenches with the help of a very kind, wise, older brother. The good news is, guys, Hammy and Sammy are all cool again. I don't have any debt. And I make a comfortable living doing what I love to do, which is exactly this. This is what I love doing. I've reconciled with Hamza in calls, and we've both just sort of mutually agreed that we were young, we were dumb, we weren't ready for the fucking insane journey that we went on. We weren't ready for the fucking shark-infested waters and all of the disingenuous actors fucking pushing us in different and wrong ways. And we weren't ready for any of that shit. All of the fucking pressure. We just weren't. And we both made a bunch of mistakes. And I'm in a much better position to be a good friend to him now because I'm independent and I am my own man. I live my own life as well. I garner my own life lessons. I'm no longer sort of his younger brother trying to live up to his expectations, you know. And also, just our friendship, it doesn't have this underlying business vibe anymore. We're not in business with each other anymore. So that just makes a much healthier friendship dynamic. And I don't know if we'll ever be as close as we were back then, but when we go into calls, it's literally like nothing's changed. There's some rumblings of us meeting again as well, which would be awesome. You know, the Hammy and Sammy fucking reunion's gonna go crazy, guys. Guys, sometimes you have to be thrown into the deep end and you have to make the choice. Will you sink or will you fucking swim? Will you fucking swim, man? Using anger can be very powerful, guys, but it does not have any longevity. It can become very unhealthy very quickly, and it can also become very unfair. I'm glad I found peace, and I'm glad I've allowed myself to heal, and I'm fucking glad I swam. I am so glad I went all in on myself. That business, which got me out of debt, guys, is my Academy of Excellence. I wouldn't be bringing it to your attention if it wasn't genuinely an excellent pathway for you to make money online from the comfort of your bedroom. Much like how I did. I did my time in those trenches, and I can tell you for certain, it's a righteous pathway, and it's working really well for over 500 of my students. I'll show you some of the results on the screen. It's no joke. It's a genuinely excellent, good-hearted pathway to financial freedom. You could be next. Check the link in the description. Check it out. See if it's for you. That was my tale. Take care, boys. We're back! We're fucking back!